All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is our first source on ancient Athens. Where remember, here's the reason why we're looking at these sources in general. Is our main overall question that we're going to look at with this whole Athens versus Rome unit is who was more democratic between ancient Athens and ancient Rome. And for these first couple of days, all we're going to do is we're only going to be really focusing on ancient Athens. So really the only question I want you to be thinking about in reading these documents is the main question is, okay, how democratic was ancient Athens? And remember, democracy, when we ask how democratic something is, it's essentially asking the question, how much power did ancient Athens actually give to the people that lived in ancient Athens? All right. Because you could even ask in the United States, how democratic are we really? How much power do the people really have when it comes to like the government and how things are run? All right. But just today, we're going to look at how democratic was ancient Athens. So, this first source that we're looking at is a source that explains the three different parts to Athens government. So we have this thing called the ecclesia, we have this thing called the bull, and we have this thing called the dicasteria. All right. And there's just like three different parts to the government. And just to give you a little bit of explanation into that, this is very similar. The United States, we actually stole this idea, this three parts of the government. We stole this idea from ancient Athens. Ancient Athens did this like over 2,000 years ago. We stole this idea when we created our government because we have three different branches of our government as well. We have like a legislative branch that makes the laws, we have an executive branch that carries out the laws, and a judicial branch that evaluates the laws. All right. And what we have is one reason why we have done this is because we have what's called a separation of power. We don't want one group to have all the power to, like, for example, we don't want a president to be able to write a law and then sign a law into action, because that would be one person that sees that law and the president can make whatever law they want. That's not the way that our government functions, and that's not the way that a democracy really should function. We want to have, like, we want the legislative branch to make the law. So they're the ones that actually write the laws. Then they give it to the president, and the president can either sign the law or not sign the law. And then there's steps that go with that. So essentially, what we want to make sure is not one person has too much power. Right? So we have what's called separation of powers, where different branches do different jobs that are all really, really important. Okay, so what we've got going on here is an Athens government. I want you to make sure that you read these different parts and what each role is for, like, the ecclesia. All right, so what is the ecclesia? What is their role? What is the bull? What is their role? What is the dicasteria? What is their role? What is their job? What is it that they're doing? Who's a part of it? All right, is all some questions that maybe we're going to need to answer. So once you do that, what I want you to do is I want you to take a look down below, and I've just got like a few questions that I want you to answer right here. So each one of these, the answer can be found up here. So I want to make sure that you read everything. So you might have to read like a little bit of the context, a little bit of the background. You might have to read about the ecclesia. You might have to read about the bull or the dicasteria. But I've got some questions that I want you to answer here down below. And then once you're done with that, and this is I just want you to think, is there anything in this document that shows that Athens was democratic and gave power to the people? Like, is there anything that shows, hey, that was a really good way that they gave power to the people? Or is there anything in here that shows, you want to know what? They're not really that democratic. They didn't give that much power to the people. And this is just general. You don't have to fill out both sides. Maybe you just put like a couple of bullet points over here that shows like, hey, these two reasons were why Athens was democratic. And maybe this is one reason why Athens was not democratic. All right. When we're looking at these documents, I'm always going to have this question at the very end. You don't have to like necessarily put more than one or two bullet points in one of these spots. I just want you to think about this and ask yourself, okay, how does this document show Athens either was democratic or is not democratic?